is to give you practical insights that you can use from directly after the start of this session. This session is being taped, so if you don't want to be on video, just turn off your screen. Today's topic is all about change, one of the 4 pillars of leadership that we at BSN believe are essential in these days. So it's a current topic, and today is all about change. For today's topic, we are going to talk about innovation, continuous innovation, staying ahead of the game, as Corina mentioned on the first page of her book. We have 2 people joining in that are especially there today to tell their story. First of them is Corina Kuiper. She's our tutor in innovation management, so she's teaching for BSN for a long time now. She's also the managing director of Corporate Venturing Network and the author of Corporate Venturing, Managing the Innovation Family. The Innovation Family is also one of her roles, managing director of the Innovation Family, and she helps out, let's say, startups through big corporate firms to innovate in the areas of innovation management, business development, and financial management. From startups to corporate firms in the areas of innovation. So we have somebody on online today that really knows what he's talking about. The reflector of today is Elsie Jacobs. She's of our marketing team in South Africa, and she's going to reflect after Corina has done a presentation for like a couple of minutes before I allow you to start asking your questions. If you have a question, so please keep them until after the presentation and the reflection. And you can ask your question by raising your hand, so the hand on the screen that is in Zoom, or by putting something in the chat box. If you want to state something during the presentation, that's also possible. I will pick up the questions afterwards. We start, as we're doing today, at exactly 8:15. That's Central European time, and we will stop this session at 8:53. So that allows you to get a cup of coffee and start off your working day with the knowledge that you got from the presentation. It's now time, Corina, to ask you to start up your presentation. You're still on mute, Corina.
Yeah, I thought
Morning.
I'm no longer on mute now, I think. You can hear me?
No, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So good morning, everybody. Indeed, it's about today about innovation and about, innovation is about change. But I think the first question we need to ask ourselves, why do companies need to innovate? And it's simple answer is it's a matter of life and death. I think it's pictured in this figure, and it's about the lifespan of companies. And what you currently see is that the lifespan, and here's the lifespan of S&P 500 index companies, has decreased tremendous about the last 50, 70 years. It was in the past more than 60 or 50 years, and currently it's around 10 years. And if you look at non-S&P 500 index companies, it is even below 10 years. So simple, if you don't innovate, if you don't transform, change your company, you won't exist within 10 years. And why is that? What is the reason why this has decreased so much? And that has to do what we call with the Big Bang disruption. Big Bang disruption has to do with digitalization. What you see today is if you have a great idea and you develop a new product or service, and it's a digital product or service, you will be able to scale this product very fast. You have it online, and after for a few trial users, and you have the bugs out of your proposition, everybody else can use it. You don't have to build a big factory with cost years. And also, if another but it also has a counter and another side, if that this idea can be copied also much easier. So in the past, when you had to build a big factory, then it took also your competitors a long time to react on your new idea to the market. Today, if there's a better idea on the market, they swipe you out immediately. So of course not valid in all sectors, but especially in those sectors where it's very digitalized, you will see that companies will come and go quite quickly. And that means that if you don't change your company every 8 or 10 years, there's no future for your company. So innovation has become essential as the transformation engine behind your company. What I want to do in the next 10 minutes is to give you 3 ways to look at innovation from a different perspective. And they have a few things in common. All these frameworks I will show you, these 3 frameworks, are always customer centric. So it's thinking from outside in and not putting your company central. The other thing is also they help to think outside the box, which is important. As Einstein already said, we can't solve our problems with the same thinking we used them when we created them. And that is very important, thinking out of the box, to thinking more customer centric. So the first framework I want to show with you is called the 4x4 innovation matrix, or also it's referred to the granularity of innovation. One thing is clear, there's no one size fits all for innovation. Innovation, there are many, many different flavors. And as a company, it's very important to differentiate between these different types of innovation and also have a right balance. So around, say, 10, 15 years ago, I was at that time working at Philips and heading the innovation office. And we had issues. We were not growing our sales as we hoped for, even we saw a slight decrease. But if we asked our business unit managers how innovative their projects were, they would say very innovative. So there was a kind of disconnection. So we start to use a different way to look at innovation. So we were not only looking what is the life cycle of the product or service you are developing, but we were asking what was the disruptiveness of your idea towards the customer. So not towards our company, but towards the customer. And this model is now used with many, many companies for innovation portfolio. And in fact, it differentiates 4 types of innovation. The first one is called improved product. Let me use a vacuum cleaner as an example. An improved product is you just change a few features of it, but the product is exactly the same as the same way you can use it as a customer. You can buy it in the same type of stores. Like a vacuum cleaner, you change the color of the vacuum cleaner, add a few features. Then suddenly one day one of your research people is entering your office and saying, I have a really great technology idea. Let's build a filter which can eliminate very small particles. So many people have allergic reactions. If we could bring this product to the market, we could help a lot of people dealing with their allergic reactions on dust. From a technology standpoint, it is really a breakthrough innovation, and it costs you really some time to handle this. But from a customer perspective, it's a great product. It helps me, but I don't have to change the way I vacuum clean my home, and I can still buy it in the same type of stores. So that's an example we call new in the category. So in both situations, it can be really a good product for the customer, but they don't have to change their behavior. They can buy it in the same stores, and it also probably your suppliers don't have to change a lot. Then one day you'd think, I'm going for a robotic vacuum cleaner. That changed a lot in the customer perspectives, because what I'm going to do, I have to get out of the room. And when I'm going back as the consumer into the room, will my glass table still there, or will it be within the vacuum cleaner? I have stairs. Do I need to buy 2 of these things? So you see, you need to really educate the customer because they don't know how to use this. And this what we call is an adjacent category. The customer still can see that it has to do with cleaning your house, but it has to change a lot. It will probably buy it in a different stores. And then new to the world, you can't even make the connection anymore with vacuum cleaner. You have a kind of spray or you clean your house, but you don't have a mechanism as a vacuum cleaner anymore to use. And why is it so important to make this distinction between those 4 categories? It's because you need a different way of working. You need a different organization and mindset and KPIs for these different types of innovation. With product development, you can leverage your company. You have all the assets within your company, and you can also, the time to turn this into money is often 1 to 3 years, and that's the same as the company patience of many companies. You know how to do these things. But if you go to new business creation or venturing, there are many names for it, then suddenly you have to give up your own identity. You have to transform your company. The customer, the supplier, your own company has to change. You don't can leverage what you already had in-house, and it takes time and patience of the companies. And that is something we don't have very often. And that's also the way how my company got the name Innovation Family, is because product development you can compare with adults, and they bring money to the company. New business creation are the very early ones, are babies, and then you have the teenagers. And big companies hate those teenagers. They disrupt their whole company. They want stability. And once, yeah, often we say companies like creating babies, they like the adults, but they hate the teenagers. But you need teenagers to really transform your company. So why make this distinction? So this first framework is, please make a clear distinction and also have dedicated buckets for each of these types of innovation, because it's really a transformation process. And often you see the 70-20-10 rule. So 70% for product development, 20% for adjacency, and 10% for really disrupting. So this is one way of looking at different types of innovation. Another thing what is happening, and that probably you all know, isolated innovations don't exist anymore. You really need partners. And a very nice framework is often offered by Ed Ottner in his book, The Wide Lens. And what he is saying is that if you look at innovations, we are doing a good job, what we call in executing our innovations. We know much better how to do project management, how to listen better to the customer, to understand the customer need. But he says, yeah, there is still a risk that we screw up our innovations by not doing the right execution, but that the risk is decreasing. He highlights that there are two other risks which are even more important why innovation fails. And that is what he called co-innovation and adoption chain risks. Co-innovation risk means that another company or another party needs to co-innovate with you to make your innovation matter. Suppose you have a recyclable product, and that is really great, but there is no recycling process. So your customer can't benefit from the recycling features of your product. So if you don't work with a partner to establish a recycling process, your innovation won't matter in the end. Another thing is what we call the adoption chain. I worked a lot in healthcare, and there are certain beliefs in healthcare. So you can come up with your innovation, but that requires a different way of looking at the way of working. For example, you have a way to do for a surgeon to have a 3D imaging. The surgeon will tell you, or the radiologist will tell you, I am a surgeon, I will think in 3D, so I don't need your invention, your innovation. So adoption chain means that the market needs to look different at solving certain problems, and that people don't like so much. And if you don't recognize these risks early on, you often will be too late when you bring it to the market, and your innovation will kill either by co-innovation or adoption chain risks. So a lot of people who are, I think, familiar with the lean startup, they know the concept of minimal viable product. A minimal viable product is the smallest version of your product where you can still deliver the value and people can start trying it, starting to use it. But Altner is adding another important topic, and he is in saying you not only should look at the minimal viable product or minimal viable proposition, you have to look at the minimal viable ecosystem. So that is the smallest configuration of partners you bring to the table together to create the innovation that really matters for the customer. So the second framework helps you to look different at your innovation, not only from inside out, within your own company, can we execute the innovation, but it also forces you to think about which partners do I need and what kind of beliefs do I have to change in the market? How do I need to educate the market to make a success out of my innovation? So that's the second framework. The last framework I would like to offer you is called the 10 types of innovation. And sorry, the title of the slide is not correct. I will change it afterwards. So the 10 types of innovation is first, we are very used, 80% sometimes of all our innovation budget goes to the product performances and the product system. So changing the product, giving all kinds of configurations out of it. But in fact, that offers only 10% of the real value. Customers need more. So there are 10 types of different ways to innovate. You can look at what we call the configuration. You can change the business model, still the same product, which like Gillette, I really give you a razor blade combination. Or networking that I like, I will give you an example later on from Lego. But structure, like McDonald's, they have really structured all their processes and make it very efficiency. Or IKEA, who knows very well how to get you through the whole store and get you to buy certain things. And the whole process you can change a lot, like SAP, they have their processes really in place. But also you can look at innovate from the experience part, like a service, like espressos. They know exactly what type of coffee you like, and the channels, how you can reach it, not only via a store, but the e-shopping, all the different ways how to get in contact. Or the brand like Apple or Netflix, or all these things which really have a very strong brand. And of course, the customer engagement, how to stay in contact. So there are so many different ways you can really innovate with your customer, and it should not be limited by just only the product. And to finalize this presentation, I would like to give you an example of Lego. Lego is of course very known of the Lego blocks. It exists already for many, many years. And the nice thing is you can still use it. The same blocks you bought as a child, my children can still play with it and it fits. What you see, they have a real product system. Everything fits together. And also now you see with adults, there's a whole community with also all kinds of products where not only playing as a child, but also playing as a grown up. But what they did very smart, they also innovated in the configuration, the network. So they work with partners in the film industry, where like the Harry Potter, Star Wars, when there's a new movie, you will find new products. But they also have a very nice channel. It's not only in they have their own stores, and they also have their strong brand. And they have Legoland, where they do the customer engagement. So you see that they don't use one innovation type, they use many types. And what we see is that top innovators use at least almost 4 types of innovation instead of the average company which only used 1 or 2 types of innovation. So to conclude, I really would like to inspire you also to look to different ways to innovate your company and not only limit it to product performance. So that's the other 15 minutes I would like to conclude my presentation.
Thank you so much, Corina. Please stop sharing your screen, and I would now like to invite Elsa to reflect upon your presentation.
Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for having me, Corina. Thank you very much. That was quite thought-provoking. I have to say that 8 to 10 year time frame that you gave us right in the beginning is actually quite shocking. And I think, well, I didn't know that a company would have to reinvent itself so frequently. But when I listen to you, what I keep thinking about is when we think of innovation, how crucial change leadership is, because without a change leader, I don't think innovation would ever be possible. So what I was thinking to remind you guys of, and I hope it's some powerful reminders for us as we go on our journey of mastering continuous innovation. And I love that you gave us those examples of Lego, for example. It's not something that I've ever thought about. I mean, we all have Legos in our homes, but I haven't thought about that at all. The importance of having a big vision. I reminded one of my colleagues yesterday, if you don't have a vision for your business that scares you, then you have to go back and rethink that vision. It's really important to start with thinking big and aiming high, because that's the beginning of innovation. And then I wanted to point out the power of persistence and determination, because we all know that there are many setbacks on the road to innovation, and perseverance is one of our greatest assets. So as we pick up, hopefully not too many pieces as we manage these setbacks, we must always remember to look at every failure as an opportunity to learn and grow. And then hand in hand with that comes taking risks and embracing failure. So obviously we have to be prepared to take risks when we're trying to innovate or disrupt, and have the courage to embrace failure. I think I saw somewhere in your slides, fail fast and cheap. I love that. If you can do it cheap, that's great. And I promised myself I wasn't going to mention Elon Musk, but I have to mention him because he is failing on a massive scale, but learning so much and applying the knowledge immediately. And I think that's such a great example. Then I wanted to mention that change leadership is at the heart of successful innovation. And I think the art of delegating and fostering teamwork is really important to remember, because without your team, your innovations and your change is not going to pull through. And one of my favorites that I left for last is the need for continuous learning and self-improvement. So as a change leader or as a manager, as someone in business, we have to continue to look inward and grow ourselves, embrace new knowledge and challenging assumptions and challenging the status quo. These are all things that we need to learn over time. And I think that's really important when it comes to innovation. So that's my thoughts. Thank you very much for having me. That was really thought-provoking.
Thank you so much, Elsley. People, we're now open for questions. You can put your questions into the chat room or raise your hand by using the reactions button on the bottom of your screen. And we have a question in the chat room by now from Marco van der Pol. Marco, can you ask your question out loud?
Yes, sorry, I needed to unmute. So the question is, when we think about innovation, and we're currently doing mainly product development, what's the first step in taking innovation on board? How can you start the innovation journey?
Okay. I think often you are even not aware that there are a lot of ideas within a company which are much more disruptive than you think. It's a kind of living apart together. So it's very hard to do a transformation or a disruptive innovation within your day-to-day business. So what you see a lot of companies is that they create an environment where you can experiment. I think what Lisa already said, failing fast and cheap is a kind of credo we use a lot. So you have to have small experiments. Think big, act small, and then accelerate fast. That I think is the main theme here. So it helps to choose a certain theme. So don't start what I have seen with a lot of companies. They dressed up as Steve's job, enter the stage and say, guys, we are going to innovate. If you want to get rid of your entrepreneurial people in your organization, that's your objective. Very effective method, I can tell you. Within 1.5 years, all those entrepreneurs will leave your company. But it's much better to take a certain topic which is very close to the heart of what you want to, what your ambition is of your company. And then say, let's see if we can work with partners to do it different. Don't do it alone. Find some partners who can bring in new knowledge into your company, but create a protected environment with a budget where you can do these experiments. Don't isolate them completely from your company. There must be a connection, but that helps. And really choose a certain theme. Don't start to say, we are going to innovate, because that doesn't work at all. I hope that addresses a little bit. Pardon me. And you need a person at the top of your company. If you don't have a believer, a guardian angel at the top, change will be extremely hard.
Thank you.
That answers your question, Marco.
Yeah, it gives it.
Okay, beautiful. Are there any more questions from the audience? So just raise your hand or put them into the chat. I've got one for you, Corina. So you started off your presentation by telling us you have to be customer centric and go from the outside in. I always wonder, okay, you can go outside in and ask for current needs of your customers, or you can go inside out by trying to, let's say, think about what you are doing as a company, being the experts in your field, and then try to innovate from that side. What's the most common way or the most successful way?
The most common way is the inside out. The most successful way is the outside in. The main thing is, of course, you can think what is a good way to do. Let's use Fuji and Kodak. Yeah, we know what happened with Kodak. Fuji and Kodak at the same time, their whole market was disrupted. What did Fujifilm do very well, and why are they so successful company now? They were thinking, what is my strengths? What can I do? Yeah, of course I can make films, but I can also make very thin membranes. So that is my strengths. And then they went outside in and asking, like, what are your really needs? What are your problems? And then they found life science, energy, and that they could bring in their uniqueness. So it's good to think inside, what is your uniqueness? What can you do differently? But always first think in needs and not in products, because that is the mistake a lot of companies make. So it's good to think what could be a need and then start to validate it with customers and then think about the product. If you look at the main reason why startup fails in more than 40% is because they developed something which there was no need for. So it's really one of the main reason why startup fail is not a technical reason. So yes, you can think about from inside what kind of needs and what's my uniqueness, but always first validate the need before you start developing the solution.
Thank you so much. So people are still open for questions. Elsie, you were talking about bravery, I think. Can you elaborate on that? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear what you said. I was talking about what?
Bravery, so being brave. It needs courage to innovate. That's something I heard you tell us.
Yes. I think because I'm all the time bringing innovation back to change. People are inherently scared of change, afraid of changing things, and being unable to predict what will happen in the future and how they will manage that. So the bravery, I think, comes from being able to start and start implementing, and not being. I mean, I'm sure you have to be focused on the outcome, but you can't always predict exactly what will happen, and you have to be agile. So change as you go along the way. I think that's really important, and it is brave.
Yeah, but I would like to add something to it. There's also something what's called effectuation. Effectuation are the main principles. People, how they deal with risk and how entrepreneurs work. It's a part of behavioral economics. And what you see is one of those 5 principles is what they call affordable loss. So brave doesn't mean you have to take a huge risk. So there is a misperception that entrepreneurs are huge risk takers. They are not. What they do, and that's what they call affordable loss, they define the maximum they are willing to lose. So they are not trying to define the golden mountain and say, like big companies, oh, 10 million, we make 100 million out of it. No, they really define what is the maximum exposure they want to have. And Steve Branson is a very good example from when they started Virgin Airlines. He was phoning with Boeing. It's a very nice YouTube you can find about it. And he was asking what it would cost to buy a few airplanes to start his company. But the second question he asked was, what do I get back when it is not a success? So he knew exactly what it would cost him. So that's what I mean with this kind of experiment. So it's bravery not about taking huge risk. Bravery is really to go into the experiment, to be open to new ideas, and not to be too closed-minded, but not by throwing a lot of money away, but really do it step by step, and that's much more successful than try to be a huge risk taker.
Does this also mean that if you're trying to innovate on your current product, that you take small steps and otherwise do that innovation outside of the current business?
Yeah, it is. It's really have to make a distinction by how to upgrade. It has to do with a psychology element, and that is called contrast. Our minds are not able to take an absolute decision. We always need a kind of comparison. So when I'm teaching students, I also teach at a university or teaching at BSN, and it's around 4 o'clock, you need to get some energy. So then I always ask my students, what is the best way of dating? Especially where there you get very nice stories. Now, the best way of dating is not to date alone. So when you are going to date, take somebody with you who is just a little bit less on the point you want to accelerate. So if you think you are the best dancer, take somebody with you can dance a little bit less, or when you think I'm the most beautiful person, take a person who's a little bit less beautiful than you are, or a little bit handsome, because people need to compare. If you enter that restaurant or a cafe and there's no comparison, people won't recognize you. And that is also having a lot why I say you need to do it a little bit, not in isolation, but at least a little bit distance from your current business, is that company, when you come with something new and people don't know what it is exactly, they need an anchor point. If it's too close to your business, they think it's an improved version of your current products. And then you can make the real disruption you needed. So take always in mind that people need an anchor point. And if you can't give the anchor point, people will make up their mind themselves. And often we are communicating in the old language of our company and not in the new possibilities of the new proposition. And in fact, change management, psychology, innovation, venturing, they are very, very linked very closely.
Okay. Thank you so much. Any questions, people? Raise your hands or put it into the chat. One question from my side. So there are these disruptive innovations. Let's, for instance, mention electric cars coming in after such a long time, being developed for a long time, and then somebody puts a car out. And then suddenly, as a company, another company, a competitor, as far as I can see, has to think if they're going to build electric cars or they're not. So are there certain moments in time that you think, okay, I can let this trend shift by, or do I need to adapt to such a change as a company and start building electric cars as soon as possible after the first one is introduced? What can you two say about that?
I think it's very important to watch what are the different trends, because the time to react has become very short. So I think before, of course, one company starts to build an electric car, you see already all kind of new trends about batteries and all the elements you need. So it's very important that as a company, and that's what we call corporate venturing, in fact, my background, is that you have to have a window to the market to identify certain trends, and then also work as a partner, because an electric car, you become co-competitors, because not one company can be successful. It's a typical co-innovation risk, because you need this kind of battery, you need this different type of design, you need different standards. So that you only can do if the market, if you co-create the market together. If I get a startup and it's telling me I'm so unique, there are no competitors, I wish them a lot of success, but don't spend any time, because but probably that's a need which is then not really shared in the market. So you have to co-create the market in the beginning, and also the education of the market. Because there's a strong belief, if I have an electric car, I can't travel a long distance, and so on and so on. So yes, you have to do it. So I think that the technology, you really, the beginning of the funnel, we start to co-create as companies. And then on applications, you will see if you can win the battle or not. So it's no longer this kind is black and white anymore. There's a lot of co-creation going on, and you need corporate venturing to really find out what is going on and when to start working on a certain trend or a certain market development.
So thank you for that, Corina. Wise words, and you're also receiving compliments in the chat room. But I don't see any questions popping up. Is there somebody in the last 3 minutes that wants to ask something that hasn't passed in the last 45? I will look through my screen to see if people are raising their hands by using the reaction button on the bottom of your screen. I'm looking at the chat room at the same time, but I don't see any questions anymore. So people, thank you so much for today. As people are still joining in, we're closing into the end of this session. I would like to especially thank Corina Kuiper for making a great presentation and answering such a lot of questions. Really beautiful. Like told, people learned a lot about it. So I think people are happy in the audience getting this knowledge with them to start off their day. Elsie Jacobs, thank you so much for being on this Zoom webinar today. It was great to have you on the show and to see you live for the first time in my case. Next week, we're going to continue our series of Good Morning BSN. We will start again at 8 o'clock sharp Central European time. I hope to see you all back at that Zoom webinar. I'm sure you're going to learn a lot like you did today. And thank you all for participating, and see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you.